Welcome to this week's episode of Being Human. I'm delighted to say I'm here with Narada Kush. Narada is a Vedic teacher specialized in Vedic Wisdom. He is a Dutchman living in Hungary, and he's also my meditation teacher, which I'm sure we'll get into. He's an author, and this is the book of which I've read a good part, the Vedas For Everyone. So, Narada, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So, before we get into the Vedas and what they're about and how they have applicability in our lives, how does a Dutchman living in Hungary come to become an expert in Vedic wisdom? Yeah, give us the backstory.
Well, I was teaching in different countries in my life, and one of these countries was Hungary. I'm coming here in this country already more than 20 years, and about 7 years ago, I met a beautiful Hungarian lady, and we decided to marry with each other. We did a Vedic wedding ritual. And that's why, because she has a very busy job here in Hungary, so I could not do any other thing than decide also to come to Hungary. So that's why I'm living in Hungary right now. But in my life, I traveled to many other countries as well. Of course, Holland is my home country. I grew up there, I studied there, I became a Vedic teacher there. But my life is a life of traveling and spreading the wisdom of life to everyone who is open for it. And it happens that about, I think, half a year ago, even you were open to something more in life. Not just living and focusing on the family and on the outside life and on your career, but you also got the desire there must be something more between heaven and earth. And then you started practicing daily the Vedic meditation. And that's why you have now this big smile and feeling some inner happiness as well.
Yeah, exactly. So where did it start for you? Like, I'm just picturing a Dutch kid, growing up obviously in Holland. How do you stumble across the Vedas and become a teacher in those arts?
I grew up with the Bible. I was born in the northern part of Holland. My father was there, the local priest in the Reformatical church. I was the fifth of a family of 7 children. And in my childhood, I was not focused on all of this. I did not know even about it. I became an artist already on young age. I started to be a magician and a comedian and a puppet show person. And then after that, after my high school, I studied law because I was thinking I have to make a career. So I studied law and I got a job in The Hague in the Dutch government. But after some years, I was not really satisfied with my life. So after a few years, I read a book, and the title was In Search of the Miraculous. And in this book, there was a sentence, and that if you want to really do something good for yourself in life, you need a teacher. You need a guru, a teacher, a spiritual master to guide you. And I was looking around, and I got some masters in my life, a couple of masters. But my first master was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi from the Transcendental Meditation Organization. I found it very quickly. I cooperated with him 20 years full-time in my life. I gave up my job at the Dutch government, and I became a meditation teacher. And after that, so many things happened in my life, and my life so blessed on all levels, and that I could teach Vedic meditation and many other things also. I do distance education. I teach people through Vedic astrology, through Ayurveda, and all these tools coming from a tradition of wisdom. We call it the Vedic wisdom. What is lost in ourselves nowadays and also in society, it is the wisdom of life. Everything what we do is based on our intellect, but our intellect is just a tool for creating all kind of opinions. It has nothing to do with wisdom. And that's why our nowadays society is in so much confusion and troubles and suffering and etc. So life is not meant to suffer. Life is meant to become more happy, more wise, more loving. But for this, we have to, from time to time, we should stop our focus on the outside life, and we should look into ourselves, what's happening in ourselves, because everything in the outside world is based on our inside world.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm fascinated with those early steps that you took, and you read this book and it said, find a teacher. Why were you not looking in the Reformation Church, or why were you not looking to Christianity to find that teacher?
I did in my childhood. I have very deep knowledge about what Jesus said. All his expressions are very, very beautiful, but I did not understand about it. My consciousness was not open for it, and I did not understand. So then I started my meditation practice on a daily basis. And then when my consciousness became more pure, more pure, I could understand everything what Master Jesus told us. But he can tell a lot if we not follow him. Then there is a big problem. And you can call yourself a Christian, but if you not follow the beautiful guidelines of Master Jesus, you have a big problem. Big problem.
Right. And so how did this relationship with, so what was the name again of the guru who you followed around? What was his name?
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He was a very well-known spiritual master. He taught also meditation to the Beatles. And he was very well known all over the world, and with millions of people who followed him. And so he was really, and he was not only a yogi. A yogi means a self-realized master who can make use of its full potential of consciousness. But he was also a scientist. So everything what he took from the Vedic wisdom, he collected all kind of scientists around him, and he explained everything also in a scientific way. And so spirituality is not just something out of the some mystical thing. It can be very, very scientific. And when you know the simple principles of life, and the most simple principle of progress in life is effortlessness. That nature doing all the work for you, and that the universal intelligence doing all the work for you. We're totally lost from this simple rule, because we try nowadays, and not only you, but the society, the government, etc., and we try to do everything by our own effort. And this our own effort is a very, very small and ignorant thing. And so we have to go back consciously. We have to go back to find the harmony with nature, with the universe, with the intelligence of the universe. And where can we find it? We cannot find it in a book. We cannot find it in the government. We cannot find it in any political party. We only can find it in ourselves, in our deeper level of awareness. But for this, we need a little technique, and I'm calling this technique Vedic meditation. And in Vedic meditation, we allow the activity of the mind to settle down. And all the Vedic scriptures confirm that this is the way how we can expand our limited consciousness to a more deeper and more expanded consciousness, and at the same time becoming more wise, more loving, more harmonious, more effective, more successful in life. So it all depends on the quality of our consciousness. When the consciousness is limited, everything in life will be limited. And when the consciousness, and the modern scientists, they think, and very stupid, and they think that our brain is producing the thoughts. This is a big, big, big misunderstanding, because when you practice meditation, you find and you experience that on the basis of our thoughts, there is an infinite field of silent awareness, silent consciousness, and from where all the thoughts are coming up. And the only thing necessary, and because our mind, our limited mind, has become separated from that inner source. So we have to find a way to come back home. And the only way, there are many, many kinds of meditation, there are many kinds of spiritual practices, I respect them all, but the only real effective way is to allow the activity of the mind to settle down, and from time to time to make the connection with this inner source of wisdom, of love, of harmony. And then automatically, spontaneously, we bring these qualities into our daily level of thinking, and we become a totally different person. Totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have, in this half year, you have experienced yourself.
Yes,
exactly. Very important to have some discipline. I also can teach this to other people, and they have no discipline. So there also will be no any effect. So important that you make a discipline in your life. In the morning, you practice your meditation. In the evening, you practice your meditation. And because this is another principle of how evolution is taking place. Evolution is taking place through the steps of rest and activity. Rest and activity. You know the cycle of day and night, of summer and winter, life and death. And these are all the cycle. So this cycle of rest and activity is extremely important. Nowadays, we are just focusing on activity. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to make a career, I have to make a happy family, I need a good salary. So we just totally, almost 100%, and because also the quality of the sleep is going down, and so we totally focused on activity. But that is not the principle of life. And the principle of rest is even more important, and that we are restful inside, and that our mind is restful, our thoughts are restful, our emotions are balanced, etc. So what we do with the Vedic meditation is that we take 2 times in the day, only for 20 minutes. I'm not coming on this 24 hours, only this 2 times 20 minutes, and to use a little technique to allow the mind to settle down. And the beautiful thing is, as soon as the thoughts, the mental functioning is settling down, also the activity in the body is settling down. So the body also coming in a deep situation of rest, and the rest is for the body the most natural way to release the tensions and the impurities and the stresses, etc., which is very important because after we have been born on this planet, especially when we are a young child, and so many impressions coming into our system. And when the impression is too much mentally, it also will give something in the body, and the body will store all these things. And throughout the years, the body will be totally polluted. We don't know because it's coming slowly and step by step, but the body totally polluted. And because mind and body are very much connected with each other, when the body does not work very well, also the mind does not, and etc., and the other way also. So very important that we find a tool in life, and it doesn't matter on what age. Some people, I also instructed people in this meditation are 70 years old or 80 years old. It doesn't matter of little children from 5, 6, 7 years old. It doesn't matter. But once in life, we should open for it to take more focus on the rest side of life and to feel rested. And the more we feel rested, life will open more on a very nice way. It is even possible that the suffering is disappearing step by step, and that more inner happiness will come in our life. Possible.
Yeah, and that's certainly, and I'm 6 months in, and I'm starting to experience that. And that word discipline, certainly for me, and maybe for others listening to it, can people can resist that word, right? They have a story about that word, the discipline, right? But the discipline we're talking about here is literally sitting down in a chair, right? That's it. You sit down in a chair for 20 minutes. And even that, and because you worked with me, just to do that to begin with, it was actually trickier than perhaps I was expecting, and it took me a while to be able to just sit still for 20 minutes. But it did come after, I don't know, maybe a month or so. But yeah, now I'm able to consistently do that and experience exactly what you described, a quietening down and easing up of life. Just a smoother ride through life is how I would describe it, is what I'm starting to experience.
Yeah, the thing is that, and according to the Vedic scriptures, we are living in a time of ignorance. And the society is ignorant, the politicians are totally ignorant, and they are part of the problem. So that's why they never can solve the problem, because they are part of the problem. They don't know, as Jesus said in the Bible, what they are doing. Oh, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they are doing. And that is the situation nowadays. So the only possibility is, because there has been a period, a civilization on this earth, we don't have any insight in our planet, what happened in the planet. And we're taking maybe 10,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago, but the planet already exists millions of years, and millions of hundreds of years. And there have been civilizations, maybe a few million years ago or even longer, and where the people were totally in harmony with the Vedic wisdom. So not only the society, also the rulers, and they were not only kings, the rulers, they were also saints, both sides. And they were saints and they were king and warriors. And this wisdom in those times has been, in a beautiful way, has been remained throughout the ages through the language of Sanskrit. All this knowledge has been stored, and just a few thousands of years it has also written on paper. And the beautiful thing is that we can make use of it. And the Vedic meditation is only one tool, but we have the health tool, we have the management tool, we have the music tool, we have the astrological tool. In those times of wisdom, astrology was the most important science in such a civilization. How to connect with the universe, how to connect with nature, how the stars and the planets and the sun and the moon have such a big impact on our life, and how we can cooperate with it. That's the real wisdom. So all the wisdom is there, all the applications are there, but because we are so focused on the wrong direction, we don't see it. And we don't know it, we don't see it, we have no time for it. Even for many people, meditating twice a day for 20 minutes is already a big thing. Where can I find the time? 20 minutes. So this is already a problem. So how we can, but now the good news, and the good news is that although we're living now in a time of ignorance and so much confusion in the world, and more people feel open to this wisdom, more and more. And nowadays we find spiritual groups in the world. We see very nice communities all over the world, and where this wisdom of life becoming more enlivened. And by this, there is definitely a possibility of a spiritual transformation in ourselves, but also in the society and in the world.
Yeah. Well, and you must experience that, right? Because you must see that growth in people taking an interest in the work that you're doing.
Yes. And one other expression in the Vedic scriptures is, when you want to grow in wisdom and in spirituality, find the company of this kind of people. So come together, find the company of these people. And this is what I did in my life. I'm always surrounded, even my beautiful wife, surrounded by people who have found already this wisdom, this inner wisdom. And that's a great joy. And that's why my life, I consider it as a very blessed life, because I'm surrounded with the most beautiful people who have the same kind of thinking as I have. So, so does it work?
Yeah. And this word astrology. So I hear that word, and maybe others hear that word, and they think about those columns in the newspaper where you know, this month a dark stranger will cross your path and there'll be strife in your family, and you think, well, doesn't that apply to basically everyone? Yeah. Well, are you seeing that term in a different way? Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, let me say a little bit, and it's totally nonsense. What we find in the magazines and in the, it's also based on ignorance. And so I never was interested in any kind of astrology. Of course, sometimes you read it when you're waiting in the doctor's waiting room and you take a magazine and, oh, I'm Scorpio, etc. But then one day, after Maharishi taught already and taught already different tools of Vedic wisdom, one day he started to talk about Vedic astrology. And immediately my heart went open and wow, what is this? And I started to study it. I did a training course in Switzerland in those times. And it became a very, very important part of my profession. Nowadays, I give these online consultations. And the Vedic astrology is a real science. It has three very interesting parts. First of all, the birth chart, which is very precise, working with 9 planetary influences. Second, we have the.
Did you say bird chart, as in flying birds? Or birth?
Bird. You're born, bird. Yeah, maybe my English is not always the Vedic bird chart. And so the chart, very important to read the chart. Second, in the Vedic astrology, we have a beautiful cycle of the life periods in which every human being, being human being, has been born, and then all the life periods, one after the other, coming. And then, in the third way, we have the remedies, the astrological remedies. So Vedic astrology is not just analyzing, it's like, we are also like, you could say, like a consultant, like a coach, and help people when they are in a life period, which giving some suffering or some health problem or some relation problem, how to solve the problem. And we easily can do this with a mantra or a yantra or a gemstone or a little ritual or whatever, and to help the people and to find more balance in life. So it's in addition of the Vedic meditation, and the Vedic astrology is very practical and very useful for every human being. So being human is very important, but the secret is in being a spiritual human.
Being spiritual, being spirit.
Yeah, being spiritual. And then life really becomes, then life open is to who you really are. And in all the cultural wisdom, and the main question is, who am I? And where did I come from? Who am I? Where I'm going to? So the answer on this question is very simple. And look inside of you, and there you can find all the happiness, all the wisdom, and all the love of the world. And Master Jesus, he said it in a very nice, religious way. He said, first, and I want to express this first word, first, seek the kingdom of heaven, which is inside of you, and everything will come to you naturally. So it's not that we have to fight life and to get as many things as possible. No, first, seek the kingdom of heaven, which is inside of you, and everything naturally will come into your life. Every human being has a specific life destiny. And your life different than my life, and every human being has a personal destiny to fulfill in life. But when I, in the consultation of the Vedic astrology, ask, to the client, do you know what is your destiny? And most of the time, and the answer is no, I don't know anything about my real destiny. And okay, but the real destiny is also depending on the quality of our consciousness. And when our mind is limited and so many thoughts and running everywhere and suffering, and we never find our real personal life destiny. And one other thing, only when we know about our personal destiny, and then only the inner happiness can come. Inner happiness is connected to destiny. As long as we restless looking for the destiny, we never can be happy. We are always not satisfied. We always want more and more and more. But this more and more and more is something in the outside world, and it does not work. And so we have to go to the inside world. And because this inner source, where all the thoughts are coming from, it is the source also of bliss, happiness, inner happiness. So if we really want to become more happy, we leave the outside world as it is, and we go inside. And for this, we need a little tool. And there are many tools, but as you experienced already in your own life, and the Vedic tool. And one more thing, this Vedic meditation is motivating itself. Why, after half a year, you still continue with the meditation? Because it's giving you some inner joy, some inner happiness. And you notice also the differences in your life. What did you notice in daily life after starting this meditation? What were your experiences?
Yeah, well, the first thing that happens really quickly is sleep. You start sleeping better, right? I'm in my mid 40s, and a bunch of contemporaries will talk about how they have to now at that age where they're having to get up in the night and go to the loo, right? And I was starting to experience that. Now rarely happens. So that was like one of the first changes. I was getting up, waking up less in the night. And just finding myself more refreshed from the sleep. That was the first of several changes. The next was finances. Yeah, this period seems to have coincided with my finances becoming more stable. And yeah, to some extent, me being just less triggered by everyday events, being less emotional about events. Like it's not completely gone, right? I can still get triggered, get upset, get annoyed, even get angry. It's I'm just smoother. This is what I said before. The summary of what I'm saying is my life feels smoother. It feels like a smoother ride.
Yeah, beautiful experiences, beautiful effects. So you see, the effects are very practical. Better sleep, better success in the outside world. Very, very practical effects. I know some people, they tell me, oh, when I'm retired, I will follow you and you can teach me. No, it does not work. When you want to be successful, even in the material world, you have to be first successful with yourself. As long as you are not in balance, the whole life will be not in balance. So first you have to find this balance, and this inner balance, mentally, physically, emotionally, in our daily activity, and then all the rest will come by itself. And so seek first the kingdom of heaven, which is inside of you. And it's a religious way of telling the same story. And all these enlightened masters, they always told the same story, only in different words, in different cultures. But actually, there is only one wisdom in the universe. There are so many opinions. Everyone, every prime minister, even every professor nowadays on the university is coming with an opinion. He's not coming with wisdom. He has an opinion about traffic jam and all these kind of things. And so there is in the universe, in the university, all the wisdom of life is totally lost and has become very fragmented in all very small parts of life. How you can be a professor about traffic jam the whole life. It's crazy. It's crazy. But he has a big salary, only giving some opinion about traffic jam, which is finally a political issue, but totally useless. And so you only can be a professor when you also have insight about the totality of knowledge. What is the totality of knowledge? It's not only some opinion about what happened in the outside world, it's also that you have insight about who you are, what a human being is for a creature, and what is his purpose, and what is his goal in life. And also very important, the process between the knower and the known. How my senses are functioning, how my mind is functioning, all these things which I'm telling, you don't hear it in the school. And the teacher never told you where thoughts are coming from. He heard from the modern science, thoughts are produced by the brains, but the brain is just a machine. Without our soul quality, and the brain would be totally dead. And so we have to know this wisdom of this inner field. In quantum physics, they call it the unified field of all the laws of nature. And so somewhere in this silent, infinite field of intelligence, there is some seeds from where the whole universe is coming out, and including our thoughts. So this is the first knowledge any professor in the world, and also any politician in the world, should know. Otherwise, our life always will be on this surface level of thinking, where our mind is maybe using only maximum 5 or 10% from its complete potential, and life totally suffering. The whole world is in confusion, and is based on competition, is based on money, is based on all kind of political issues, but that is not life. That are, even take, for instance, medical healthcare. It is so super, so limited in its approach. So people even instead, if they become more healthy, they become more sick. That's the effect of the nowadays healthcare. So also nowadays healthcare needs much more holistic approach of who we really are. And we are not only a physical body, we have a mental body, we have an emotional body, we have a karmic body, we have a causal body, we have a bliss body, and that is this inner field of consciousness, and to which we can, as long as we are separated from it, life is suffering. So we have to go back home to who we really are. We have to go back to our essence. And we lost our essence. And we are just walking robots, and just based on patterns which have been developed throughout the years. So we have to come back to who we really are. And what are we? We are consciousness. And we're not a physical. One of my teachers, which I met after Maharishi, Sri Vasudeva from Trinidad and Tobago, and he always telling us we are. And what is the human being? What is being human? And the human being is a spiritual being who has been born in a physical environment. And by our birth on this planet, our spiritual soul has entered into a physical system, we call it the body, and that's why we identifying ourselves also with the physical world. And we don't know about any other world. We know, oh, there is the physical world. I have to do my education. I have to find a job. I have to earn money. And all our focus is on that. But then we totally in the wrong direction of what life is meant for. And the first thing in life is to spiritually grow from the inside so that we can manage our connection with the outside world in the most comfortable and happy way. And then the outside world will not press on us. And the situation nowadays, this outside world has so much impact on our system, and that we're totally suffering by it. But that is not the way. And we have to become managers of ourselves first, and then we also can manage the outside world.
Yeah, beautifully put. And you talked about the knower and the known, and early in the book you lay out this schema of the knower, the known, and knowing, right?
Yeah.
And could you talk a little bit more about that? What are you describing there, and how do we use that in our day-to-day life or our understanding?
Yes, many people know that the number of 3 is a very, very holy number. Creation starts with the number unity, no number, just unity. And it's in a field of wisdom, it's unity. And there the knower and the known and the process of knowing is wholeness. And there is nothing more than total wholeness. We can experience that wholeness by practicing the meditation. But as soon as we come separated from this field of wholeness, then these 3 qualities coming out. And the knower, and we are the knower and the one who can know. And we connect ourselves with the outside world, which is the known. And there is a process based on our mind and the senses and our action, how to connect with this outside world. But as long as these 3 qualities, known, knower, known, and process of knowing, starting to functioning their own life, separate from each other, then we lost the real wisdom, the real wholeness of life. So we have to go back. It's not that we have to give up life or to have to give up our job or to give up our family. It's nothing to do with that. And what we have to do is that these 3 separate qualities making one wholeness again. And that they're not separated from each other, not living their own life. Here am I, and somewhere there is the outside world, and my senses doing something. No, it has to become in harmony again. So that's the real depth of the Vedic wisdom. And the Vedic wisdom is beautiful because it is not based on opinion. It's not based on intellect. How this wisdom has come to us? Well, in the Vedic time, there have been scholars, we call them seers, Vedic seers, who cognized the wisdom of life not from the outside, but from the inside, from their very deep level of awareness, and they could cognize the wisdom, and they brought this to the manifest world by sound. And sound is the first expression of this level of wholeness. And they put all these sounds in a very nice way. And in this way, the wisdom of life has revealed to us. They are revelations, and you can call them divine revelations. And they saw from the inside, all the wisdom came to them. So the wisdom is not colored by intellect, by their intellectual things. No, it is colored by the inner wisdom of life. And on this level of this unified field of all the possibilities, actually, there is all the wisdom of life. And Maharishi expressed it in a very beautiful way. He said, knowledge is structured in our consciousness. So on a surface level, the knowledge is very limited, because the consciousness is very limited. But on this level of the infinite field of all the possibilities, there is all the knowledge of life. And once we have reached that level, and there are nowadays already not only the spiritual teachers, but also many, many just simple people who have reached all this quality of life already and living in a peaceful way of life with a lot of wisdom and inner happiness. But the beautiful thing is that it's open for every human being. The human being, and only the human being, because other people, other living beings with a soul, like an animal or a tree or a plant or a flower, and they don't have this quality. They cannot develop their consciousness, and they have a limited way of consciousness, and that's their life. But the human being has the possibility to develop its consciousness, and finally experience higher states of consciousness. And so we are familiar with the relative states of consciousness and deep sleep, dreaming, and waking state of consciousness. But there is much more, and we're not aware of it. And when we and maybe sometimes you have this experience during your meditation of no mantra, no thought, and just a little moment.
Yeah, like a tiny peace. Glimpse, not too often, but occasionally.
Yes. At that moment, the activity of the mind has been transcended, and we make a little connection with this inner field of wisdom. So that's already another state of consciousness, because we don't fall asleep during the meditation. We're fully awake, we hear everything, and at the same time, mind and body are in a very, very deep state of rest. And when this quality is becoming more and more lively in our daily life, then even we can become, with a very nice word, enlightened, of liberated, of freedom of mind. And that it just means that we no more suffering from the outside world. And we can manage the outside world, because we can manage the inside world in the same way we can manage the outside world. And then life becomes really, really life. Then we really become a human being. Until so far, we are not a real human being. We are like an animal, because the animal has the same qualities of sleeping and activity and procreation and all these kind of things. So we have to grow in wisdom, in consciousness, in love, in harmony, and then we really become a really human being, as it is meant in all these civilizations in the past. All these things have been happened in a very practical way. So now, because we lost the wisdom of life, and how we could lose the wisdom of life, because we more and more focused on the material things. And the more and more we focus on this, the more and more we want to have. And when we have $100,000 in the bank, and we want to have $200,000. And we have 200, and when we have one car, we want to have 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars. So that's why where our attention is going, in the wrong direction. So we have to find, it is a must. It is not just a possibility. It's a must that we find the right direction again. And every religion, every culture of wisdom every spiritual teacher is telling us the same. And the difference is that every spiritual teacher has its own programs, its own meditation, its own this and that, and philosophy. But nowadays we know that the Vedic meditation is the most simple, the most effortless, the most practical, and the most effective tool to expand our consciousness and to make our life a real life of also, because I know you have a family. How many children do you have?
2 boys, 5 years old.
2 boys. Look, and to become a real loving father, we need also this expansion of awareness and of consciousness to become really a loving father for our children. Our children are so important. For instance, education. And we go to school and we learn reading and writing and this kind of things. But that's just not enough. And we need more complete wisdom. Where thoughts are coming from. I went to many schools in my life, but I never heard where thoughts are coming from and what are thoughts and how we can think more happy thoughts instead of problematic thoughts. I never got that knowledge in the school. And so now, besides of the normal school, I have no any critics on the normal school, but besides the normal school, we should get wisdom from the spiritual school as well. To make life complete. Life is not complete. We only live half a life or even less than that. So we have to go back to full experience of life.
Yeah. One of the things I'm curious about, so I got a warning, right? Maybe 20 years ago about going into transcendental meditation. And at the time, I was doing a lot of deep therapy work, like emotional work to release trauma, and I continue to do some of that right now. But the warning was along the lines of, watch out for that, because you risk entering some kind of spiritual bypass where you use these tools to avoid any of the emotional issues that you have in your life that you might need to work on through therapy, and emotional release work. So I wondered if you had a response to those people who are skeptical of transcendental meditation for that reason, because maybe it's some form of escapism.
Yeah. Well, you can do different things in your life. For instance, you are depressed, and then you go to the psychiatrist to solve the depression. It takes a long time, and you have to go back to your childhood and to memorize all these things, what happened in your life. It's a very, very difficult way. And so we have to make the most simple way to make our life really. And of course, when I started to be a meditation teacher about 40, 50 years ago, people were very skeptic. And then I gave a lecture, there were 10, 20 people in the hall. I gave a lecture, and then one of the people raised the hand. Oh, it's totally not in harmony with my religion, and how can you talk about this? And so people were very skeptic. But nowadays, even the most famous people in the world, they practicing meditation. You look in the YouTube, like Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra, and many of these people, and many artists, many directors of companies. And when I in the years 90, I worked together with a management consultant, and we were a really very good team. And so what we did, we organized 3 days seminars in a conference place, and my friend, he talked about all these communication things, and then in between I taught the people also the meditation. And of course, they were very skeptical. Who is this Narada Kush, and what does he thinking, and where he coming from? He's not looking like a manager, all these kind of things. But then I taught them, first I gave a little introduction, and then I did this initiation in the Vedic meditation. And they had so much good effect, because managers, they are very clever people, very bright thinking. Then they find, but of course they are very much too busy, running everywhere, almost burn out and all these problems. And so then they experience this very deep peace inside, and they totally became different people, totally transformed, totally more successful, more happy, more a real good director. If you really want to become a good director, you need this balance inside. And you need from working from this level of wisdom. And you cannot tell the employees all your opinions. It does not work. And they have to feel the heart, and they have to feel the soul of the director. And the director becoming a real good director. So what I'm telling to skeptical people is nothing, because they are not my group, and to tell all these beautiful things. I only work with people who naturally coming to me. They find my website, they want to participate in the 5 online steps of this course, or they want Vedic astrology. So only take your time. I learned this throughout the years. Only take your time. The skeptical people, okay, you live your own life, be happy, etc. But the people who really open to this wisdom coming to me, and it's a joy for me to work with these people. So I don't work with people who are not interested in these things. I say, hello, live your life, be happy. No, I'm working with the people who really are already a little open to it, or they have some problem in life that they think, oh, I should do something else because my life is not a good life. And then they come to me and I help them, and they become same happy like you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And it's something about, are you ready for the, as you say, the beautiful message, right? The wonder of this, so it seems to require a certain openness, a certain sort of tenderness to
Yeah.
who could contemplate that life might be beautiful and easy and full of wonder. It's a kind of a rich soup that some people, may not be ready to taste. And that resonates. And I wonder if actually a lot of the work I did, the emotional work I did, helped to prepare me to be able to receive this message. Maybe that's true. Yeah. Or maybe it's also true that I could have started this work 20 years ago and skipped the emotional work. I guess I'll never know. But yeah,
you have to be ready. And also nowadays, internet has its own problems, but in this way, people can get so easy all the information, and that's another tool, and that they can. And like in my life, it was from one day to the other that the transformation came, and that they read a book, you have to find a master. In the same week, I found a master. In the same week, I started my meditation practice, and my total ignorant life before transformed in a very, very, very deep way.
That's extraordinary. I hadn't realized it happened that quickly. Wow, in the space of a week.
Yeah. So it's very simple. Not every human being will be open for it. Many people will stay skeptical, and that's totally fine. But the group who will become more and more open and want more and more. For instance, to give you an example, more people are aware of taking healthy food. Many years we were living by the supermarkets, which food is totally polluted, totally wrong, and totally unhealthy. But more and more people nowadays more aware, no, I should eat healthy food. So it means that the awareness has made already a change. I want to live a better life. And so it starts with, they start a yoga lesson once a week, and then also step by step they will be more and more open for daily practice. It does not help. Many people once a week go to the 1 hour yoga lesson. It totally will not. Maybe you feel a little bit better, but it totally will not give any support to developing our consciousness. If you really want to develop our consciousness, daily practice, not for the 24 hours, but daily practice of some kind of deep going meditation necessary. Only 2 times 20 minutes a day, and takes the doctor away.
Maybe that's the new, the mantra for this expanded age. It's not, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's meditation twice a day fuses you with universal consciousness. We need to catch a version of that.
And also my book, I wrote many books, but one book has been translated now in English language. It's called The Vedas For Everyone. Also important to read. Why? Not because I'm the author, but next to the experience, we need insight of life. And we need the knowledge. Where are we coming from? What is our purpose in life? How we can become more happy? So we need also this insight. And this insight was lively in these Vedic times, when all the people of the society were in deeper level of consciousness. So together with the practice, we need the knowledge about life. And together, both things together, and practice, inner experience, and insight, what happened with me when I take the spiritual path, the spiritual journey. And so for this, we have to know something. Another beautiful book is the Bhagavad-Gita, when you see my poster here on the wall, and it's about Krishna and the divine and his disciple Arjuna, and the divine telling all the principles of life and how to act and how to withdraw and how to act and how to withdraw. And all this is written in beautiful Vedic scripture called the Bhagavad-Gita. So, but sometimes the Bhagavad-Gita can be a little bit too much for the starting spiritual person. So maybe my book can be somewhere in between, because you read already in this book and it is more popular written, what is the wisdom of life and how we can work with the practical tools of the wisdom.
Yeah, and it lays out what the history and the basic philosophy. I think, because I've tried. I mean, in fact, I have read the Bhagavad-Gita, but I think a lot of it just went over my head. I'm not sure how much I really absorbed. But I can imagine going back to that book now, having read your book, and it making a lot more sense.
There are many more. Yeah, there are many more spiritual books, but the Bhagavad-Gita giving the essence of the wisdom of life in a very, very beautiful way, and it's very nice comment by a spiritual master. So that book I can recommend very much. But if it is a little bit too much, this wisdom, then my book could be a more popular way of getting more knowledge about the Vedic wisdom of life. Yeah,
and we'll definitely, we'll put a link to the book in the show notes. The other thing that strikes me about the book, and you started to touch on it, was in these times that there's this theme coming through of unity and wholeness. And you talk in your book, The Vedas For Everyone, about how this is infused into everything, into architecture, into diet, into medicine, into physical activity, into work activities. And that really resonated with me. Like, you look around today and the modern buildings are kind of ugly, and medicine seems really reductive, and sport is somehow doesn't, there's no sort of spiritual context or broader I don't know reference to anything higher or bigger in our games or our daily acts. Like it's like we've compartmentalized every activity in life and stripped the spiritual context out of it, and then we just sort of run around like robots from one activity to the next in this kind of very what's the word, it's just like dense, right? Like it's we're not not enlightened. We're not experiencing any connection between these activities or any higher purpose or any sense of a bigger canvas in which we're doing these things. And we're starting to see like a movements in different areas, like trying to kind of recontextualize like work. And so we're saying, oh, we should need purposeful work. And we're saying, oh, well, maybe we should do yoga as activity, and a bit of meditation at the end will maybe help us connect. So, but it feels like we need a kind of revolution in a sense to kind of explode it all out and have everything being an expression of this bigger consciousness. And as I say that, it feels like a very kind of grand project for us to, create a society of that nature. But the contrast between what you describe in that book and what we experience today feels stark.
Yeah, and that's why we call this period of mankind a period of ignorance, and totally ignorance, not little ignorance, total. I give you a few examples. Look to our cities, how human beings living in these crazy cities, where all the basic elements of nature are polluted. space, air, water, earth, everything totally polluted. And one crazy functioning community in every city in the world. It's totally crazy. But because we have been familiar with it, and we have grown up in such a crazy environment, and we think it is normal. So that's one. Another example is, how do we create children? So this starts with the conception. How we do that nowadays? We just go to the pub, and then we drink some alcohol, and then we go to our bed, and then some child is coming out after so many months. But that's not the way. What is more important in the world than create our children in the most harmonious and comfortable and effective way? So in the Vedic time, the moment of conception was very, very, very important. And so there was preparation before and between the man and the woman. Even the moment of conception was astrologically prepared. So that is the best moment. The moon and the sun, especially the moon, is on the best place at that moment. And so conception was very, very important to give awareness to it, just for creating the most beautiful children. And the same with the pregnancy. What happened nowadays? And the ladies, they just continue with their work, all the stress, the traffic, the working stress. And then a few weeks before the delivery, they take some weeks free holiday to get the delivery. It's totally crazy. And the pregnancy is a very, very delicate something. And which the lady needs a lot of rest, a beautiful environment, only peace, only happiness, and the husband should be there to pacify her and because it's not only a woman thing, it's a thing for both of the parents. So also the father should give a lot of attention. Both they can even communicate with the unborn child, and then also the delivery should be in a very peaceful way. All this wisdom has been totally lost. And it's not by coincidence that our children have a lot of problems nowadays in their mental and physical health and etc. And so we have to give much more attention and awareness, but when the mind is not working, we cannot give it. But we have to create our own wisdom, our own love, and then that's the moment that we also can create a beautiful child on this earth. And the reason that the children have so many problems nowadays, it's not the problem of the child. It's the problem of the parents who did not give enough good attention how to create a real beautiful child on earth. Also in my book, one of the chapters is going about this, how you can use really wisdom for creating a family, a beautiful family, a happy family, and a successful family. In which the children can grow up in harmony and love and in happiness and getting also the right education.
Yeah, and of course you're right, and the parents have this huge role. And I guess what comes to mind is and think about the context for the parents, right? They're going to work in these boxes and they're stressed out and they're commuting and their environment's polluted and right? So and very often they're now living a long way from their extended families, and so it's this was the start. Yeah, again, I'm repeating myself, but this felt to me like a big message in your book was there is another way to just think about organizing society that is totally different. From architecture to medicine to like everything is different, and it would just and in a way that it's almost difficult to imagine what it might be, but you do get a sense that it could be very different.
Yeah, and so the quality of the child depends on a great deal about the quality of the conception. That's point one. Then also the quality of the pregnancy together. Man and woman should be part of that. And the woman should eat good food, healthy food. And whatever she eats is going to the child. And also the woman should give a lot of rest to her system. That also is beneficial for the unborn child. And then the delivery and also the first years of the child, very important because the child will be very vulnerable and mentally, physically, etc. So it has to be grown up in a peaceful environment also. And when both of the parents are working, and I don't want to give too much critical on all these things, but it's not good for the peace of the child. And because he will be sent to some kindergarten or somewhere. That's not a real good for the child. We have to, and the parents, a real good society, starting with the responsibility of the parents for the children, for the family they start. Families are the founding stones of a society. And when so much stress in these families, how we can live in a peaceful society? It's impossible. It starts with the responsibility and the wisdom and the peace of the parents.
Okay. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. And talking about being a parent, it's getting close to me needing to go pick up my kids from their grandparents. So, yeah, thank you once again. We'll put the...
One more point. The grandparents are very, very, very important in the growing up of the children. And the children should not be sent to any place where someone knows. And the grandparents should be there and to support in the growing up and the education of the children. They are the best of the best, and we should use them for that.
Yeah. Well,
I never saw such a beautiful love in the world between grandparents and grandsons. It's so beautiful just to look at it. The heart is bursting open.
Yeah. Okay. And well, I'm just thinking about my dad and my sons, and my dad is taking them around like his greenhouse, and they're picking tomatoes with him, and like they're in the garden. So yeah, they're creating this wonderful bond.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah.
Okay, so once again, this is your book, The Vedas For Everyone. We'll put the link in, and then tell people, if people are interested in learning to meditate with you or to learn more about your teachings, where else would you send them?
You can give them my website, and then they will find me. And
we'll put the website in there. Great. And it's Narada. The URL, it's Narada Kush. We'll put the. I'm not quite sure. I don't have the URL to hand. We'll make sure we put that into the show notes. Fantastic. Okay. Is there anything else, or does this conclude our conversation for today? That's great. Good. Well, thank you for your time. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. continue your daily meditation. That's all.
I will.